Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another World of Warships Legends video. And we're covering a special event today. This is the Rust and Rumble mode, which was introduced for Halloween of 2020. If you remember last year for 2019, we had a PvE event where it was a group of players working together to escort an NPC ship through this map to get it to the end and then fight a boss and try to win. This time it is a strictly PvP event. Rust and Rumble mode pits 4 teams of 3 players against each other. So it's a 4-team battle, each team having 3 ships, and all the ships are destroyers. There's no smoke, there's no detection, you are just constantly on the map, and it's this sort of a free-for-all. So what I'm doing in this video is giving some tips. These are my top 10 tips for the mode. I'm not getting into, is the mode worth it? I'm not getting into, like strategy and little minute details. This is, we'll cover those in another video perhaps. For this video, broad picture, step back, look at the big picture for the event, 10 tips to keep in mind if you want to pursue the event. Because one of the things I will say about the event is if you want anything from it substantively, other than just to jump in and have fun, it is a new, completely different mode than anything else you've done. So jump in and try it. But if you want to really go for it, if you want to get any of the rewards, permanent rewards from the event, you really have to invest some time in it. And so hopefully these tips can help you do that a little bit more successfully, be a little bit more efficient, and maybe cut out some of the battles that you need to do to get those rewards. So let's jump into the list. And the first thing I'm going to say is upgrade your ship. You have 3 different ships in the game that you can choose from. You get all of them at tier 1 to start with. It's the Rascal, the Lazarus, and the Greasy Sam. And they're very similar, but they each do have their own unique twist. The Lazarus, for example, gets a heal. The Rascal has a sonar torpedo detection system. And Greasy Sam has a shield that can go up for a couple seconds and reduce incoming damage. And they have other differences as well in their torpedoes, their ranges, the amount of guns that they have. So a little bit of flavor for each. What you want to do is at the end of each match, you're going to earn this event currency. That's the whole point of playing the event other than just for fun. You're earning these tabs. And you can get, depending on what place you get in the map and how you perform in that battle, you can get various different numbers. If you have a really, really good game, you can get 200, maybe a little more tabs. First place with a bad game, you can get 150, all the way down to I think like 15 or 20 if you have a terrible game. You take last place, you basically do nothing. Where the tabs really can get accumulated is in these missions, daily missions that Wargaming gives you the chance to take part in. And the catch is that you can only complete those missions by using upgraded ships. So for 3,500, I believe, tabs, you can take one of your tier 1 ships and buy the tier 2 version. And then every day you get 15 personal missions to complete a, basically all you have to do is compete. You have to get 50 XP, so you can't be AFK. But if you do anything, you'll complete the mission if you're in a tier 2 boat, and you'll get bonus tabs. I think it's 35 tabs for the tier 2 ship. Then for 4,500 tabs, you can buy a tier 3 ship, and you get another set of personal missions 15 times each day to earn, I believe it's 70 tabs. Again, as long as you participate in the battle with that tier 3 ship. So I would recommend getting 1 tier 2 ship and 1 tier 3 ship. As long as you're going to play 10 to 15 battles a day in that ship and earn those daily points, it will quickly compensate for what you had to spend initially to buy the ship. You will come out ahead, again, as long as you don't buy it on the last day or 2 of the mission. I think it's about a week, 5 days, where the payoff takes in if you're doing all the missions. So, but with that said, only buy one of them. If you have the tier 2 ship, if you have 2 tier 2 ships, most times you're not going to be sitting around waiting. The battles are pretty quick, so it's not like in the regular mode, you take your favorite ship out, it gets destroyed in the first minute, and then it's unavailable for 10 minutes. They're pretty quick, and if you have a tier 3 and a tier 2, then it's almost always you can bounce between them. If you take your tier 3 out, you get destroyed really early. Take the tier 2 out, however that battle goes, when it's over, your tier 3 will probably be ready again. So you can just bounce back and forth between the tier 2 and the tier 3, completing those missions. Again, that's 30 total missions to complete to get both sets of personal missions done if you have both the tier 2 and the tier 3. Unfortunately, they do not overlap. The tier 3 boat can't complete the tier 2 personal missions. So if you have both, it's 30 missions a day, but it's a ton of tabs, and you'll accumulate them quickly. Second thing that I'll say, having the upgraded ships does slightly improve your battle output. If you're in a tier 2 boat, you can be in a tier 1-2 match or a tier 2-3 match. And if you're in a tier 2-1 match, the 2s are better than the 1s. You can handily take out a tier 1 ship in a tier 2 ship if you are at least basically competent in what you're doing. So if it's better, you will also get more tabs just from the battle because you'll have a better performance. So upgrade your ship. Number 2, I hate this and I hate that it's a thing, but it really is play in a division. Especially in these short form, small team modes, 3v3, having somebody that you're coordinating with closely it's super valuable. You can split up and have a person go capture the points. You can have another person go after kills. You can do pincer maneuvers. You can stagger yourselves. One starts taking damage, and then when they get damage, they run behind, and the other guy comes out. It's too powerful in these modes. I don't like that it's a thing. Divisions should be either prevented or forced into their own game mode, but it's not, so do it. Go into the game clubs, find somebody. Like, people are looking for teammates. Get yourself in a division if you can, even if it's a 2-person division. It's really going to make a difference. And again, the grind is real here, so if you're playing with somebody, if you're playing with a friend, it'll also make it a little bit less tedious. Number 3, kill steal. I know, but I don't mean from your teammates. Again, it doesn't matter who gets the kill. You're not getting extra points. Like, the team gets all the same points. So if I get 3 kills and my teammate gets 0, we get the same amount of tabs based on how we did in the battle. So what I mean by kill steal is kill steal from the other teams. Remember, there's 4 teams playing, and kills count big for who gets the most points, and that's how the rewards are dished out. It's based on points. So you want those kills because they increase your team's points by a pretty significant amount. So if you're on the blue team, if the blues and the reds are both hunting an orange, try and get that kill. Don't let the orange guys get the kill, or don't let the red guys get the kill. You want that kill, so you get the credit, so you get the extra points. So try and get those kills, try and steal those kills when you can from the other enemy squads. Number 4, capture bases. Throughout the battle at set times, there's going to be capture points that show up on the map, and they're worth points. It's not like in the regular mode, like domination, where you get so many points for holding the area. You get, and it's hidden, you don't even see it until the end of the battle, but you get points for your team when you capture the area, and it's a super fast capture. I think it's like a 2-second capture time, and then you take the base, and then it disappears. And so they show up, as I said, at specific times and in specific places. So you can anticipate it and get yourself into position to capture them quickly and prevent the enemy teams from doing so. So the timing for these, when you start the battle, each of the 4 teams, they're spread out around the map. You're going to have 1 capture point right in front of you that only you can reach as long as you at least try to. So each of the 4 teams will get 1 capture to start the game. Then when there are 12 minutes and 30 seconds left, 4 capture points will be added. And they're in 2 groups of 2, and they're diagonal to each other. So the way the maps play out is you basically got 2 vertical battles. There's a 3v3, 2 teams of 3v3 on the left, up and down on the map, north-south, and 2 3v3 teams on the right, north and south. They usually battle each other, and then whoever wins meets in the middle to finish off the fight. Well, each of those left and right sides will get 2 capture points to spawn at 12 minutes and 30 seconds. They're usually close together, and as I said, they're diagonal from each other. And they're a step in towards the middle from the original spawned capture points, but not close to the middle. Just basically, if you kind of imagine there's concentric rings coming out from the middle, wherever the first capture one is, come 1 ring in, and that's where the second capture will be. Then at 9 minutes left in the battle, 4 new capture points will show up. And it's worth noting, when the new capture points show up, the old ones disappear. So if you haven't gotten that last one that showed up with the 12:30 batch, at 9 minutes, the new ones show up and the old ones disappear. They don't hang out. So get them while you can. Know that the timing, if you're running to it and it's far away and there's only 5 seconds left, it's 9:05, you're not going to get there, it's going to disappear. Turn and start going for the next batch. So the ones that show up at 9 minutes are now, I think they're cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, right around the center block. So they are very close to the center, not the very center, but there are 4 of them, 1 block north of center, 1 south of center, 1 east of center, 1 west of center. So they show up at 9 minutes, grab those. Then the final capture point, it's a single capture point, shows up at 7 minutes, and it's in pretty much the very center of the map. So that's all the capture points. Again, time the battles. The way this works out, you get your first capture for spawning in, you have your 3v3 fight, hopefully you win it early enough that you can start moving towards the 2 that spawned on your half of the map. Then at 9 minutes, hopefully you're in better shape than the other team. If the other team's still fighting, you can try and capture as many of those 4 that show up at 9 minutes, and then if the battle's still dragging out, try and grab that last one in the middle at 7 minutes. All right, number 5 and 6, these two go together. This is a bit of like real tactical kind of engagement advice for how the battles play out. Again, it's all destroyers. You do have torpedoes, and they're worth firing off, but it's tough to hit. And the reason that it's tough to hit with torpedoes is because these ships have an incredibly fast start-stop time. Their acceleration, deceleration is really, really fast. So that's good for dodging torpedoes, but it also can give you advantage in these gunfights, right? 99% of the fighting is short-ish range, maybe 5 kilometers or so, and it's knife fights. You're just spamming your shots and they're spamming their shots at each other. Well, one thing you can do, because your ship is so responsive, if you imagine you and the enemy ship, you're going kind of parallel to each other and you're firing your guns, well, fire your salvo and then slam it into reverse. If you're going full speed forward, slam it all the way into reverse, and your ship is going to very quickly decelerate, and if your guy's aiming at you from the full speed shot, he's going to miss. And then fire your second salvo, and then crank it up to full speed again. Well, now he's changing his aim to aim back at you after you've stopped or started going in reverse. And now as he fires his next salvo, you're going to be shooting forward at full speed again, and maybe those miss you from the back. The big swings are when you change direction. If you're going forward and then you stop and are going backward, right? Those are when the shots are going to miss. If you go from full speed forward to half speed forward, yes, you might cause a miss, but it's less likely to do so. So when you're engaging in these fights, vary your speed. Fire the salvo, slam it in reverse. Fire the salvo, slam it in flank speed ahead. To counter that, point 6, tip 6, is stagger your shots. So most of the ships have a lot of guns, 4 or 5. The Lazarus only has 2. But rather than firing a full broadside, firing all your guns at once, stagger the shots. And the reason to do this is to counter the tip that I just gave. If you fire all your shots at once, but your guy slammed on the brakes, your target slams on his brakes, and you miss, well, you're going to miss with all 5. If you stagger your shots, firing them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, separate so that they're staggered, then if you fire the first shot and you notice, oh, he slammed on his brakes, well, now you can move the cursor, move your target, and hopefully track shots 2, 3, and 4 onto your target. And then if he accelerates again, maybe 1 again misses because it's aiming behind, but then you can change the aim as you're taking shots 2, 3, 4 and get them back on target. So it's just a way to prevent that varied speed from having such a dramatic impact on your knife fight engagements. All right, tip number 7 is positioning. Stay with your team and don't isolate yourself. And this is super important in the beginning of the battle. Like I said, 2 teams of 3, north and south of each other. You're going to turn to each other and start the engagement. And this is when the fighting is most frantic. What you want to do is get yourself into a position to shoot at least one of the enemy ships with only that one enemy ship able to shoot you back. Imagine if you're out in front, if you're in open water, all 3 of the enemy ships can see you, they're all going to shoot at you, and they can focus fire you very quickly and take you out. Rather, what you want to do is get yourself targeting the lead ship so you have line of sight to them, but you can use the buildings and the debris which are scattered throughout the map to block line of sight from the other two ships. And that way it's a one-on-one fight, or maybe even better, 2 or 3 of your guys can all shoot the one enemy ship. Keep in mind, I know there's this impulse to pincer, right? You want to split up and go, I'll go left around the island while my buddies are going right around the island, and that way we'll have different angles of attack for the enemy ship when we both clear the island. That works in the base mode, especially when you've got ships of different speeds and armor and you're trying to get angles to penetrate. But with these destroyers, it's not really as important. And while you're taking the long way around the island, your teammates might get rushed, and now you've got a minute and a half where you're stuck behind the island and you don't have line of sight. You can't protect your teammates, and now maybe they're outnumbered. Maybe they've got 2 or 3 shooting at 1 or 2 of them while you were going the long way around. And again, the payoff usually isn't worth it for the flanking maneuver. So stick with your teammate, think about your positioning, especially at the start of the battle. Get yourself into that position where you're in partial cover, line of sight on the lead enemy vessel. And going with that a little bit, tip number 8, target selection. So you want to obviously prioritize the weakest first, and this will come into play even more in the later phase of the battle, right? So the first phase, you've got the north-south battle. Hopefully you win that, maybe with 2 ships, maybe with 3, and then somebody's going to win on the other side. Hopefully they're in worse shape than you, but whatever shape they're in, find the target that took the most damage. And then that's the ship you want to get first. Remember, a ship with 1 health still does full damage compared to a ship with full health. So remove that ship as early as possible to limit the number of guns that are firing at your team. Also keep in mind, if the battle devolves to a multi-enemy battle, you win your fight, both of the enemies have survived. Maybe there's 1 on the orange, 2 on the red. Think about prioritizing the red targets first, right? Rather than kill the orange, and now it's a 2v2 or a 2v3, take out that extra red target, and now there's 1 red, 1 orange, and maybe 2 blues, and that will give you the numbers advantage later on in the fight. Also, I would say the Lazarus should usually be your last target of opportunity. Again, because it has that heal, it is the most durable, it is the one you can whittle it down, and then it gets the big heal and goes back up to half health. And if you had focused on a Greasy Sam first, maybe you could take that one out faster. So usually it's going to make sense to prioritize the other targets ahead of the Lazarus. Obviously that's not going to always be the case. You shoot at the target of opportunity that you have, but if the Lazarus and another target are both available and both at equal health, shoot the other ship first would be my recommendation to get that one out, and then focus on the Lazarus, and don't worry about its heal. They'll only be able to use it once in that final engagement because of the cooldown. Tip number 9, this is an important one. Don't draw out the game. And what I mean by that is, especially if you're focusing on the personal missions, where you need to get 30 battles done a day in this mode. It's a lot. It takes some time to grind them out. So recognize when you have a good battle in hand or a bad battle in hand. Especially if you're in a tier 3 ship, there are a ton of AI ships that show up in the battles. Just not a lot of people are playing the mode, not a lot are playing with tier 3s. So if you get put into a battle and it's you and 2 AI, and your first 3v3 matchup is against a platoon of 3 guys altogether, yeah, well, you're going to lose that one, and so it's not going to be worth scrapping and fighting and hiding behind the island and all that nonsense. Go, try to take out a ship, capture a base or 2, do as much damage as you can, and then cycle and get into your tier 2 and let the tier 3 cool down, and then switch, right? Cycle that mission quick. On the reverse side, if you have a good battle, you win your 3v3 engagement, you've got the right amount of numbers, or you're against multiple AI, but you've got a full squad of humans on your team, then you want to kind of milk that and get as many tabs as you can, right? You can easily go from a 130 point tab win to a 200 point tab win if you collect all the bases as they're popping up. So if you win handily, the other 3v3 battle is struggling, go get those bases. Don't worry about rushing to kill them first. Again, don't prolong the battle, but if it's 10 minutes in and you're not yet close to the remaining enemies, that's okay. Get in position, so at the 9-minute mark, you're ready to snatch up those 4 bases real quick and then go and wipe out the enemy team. You'll make an extra 30, 40 tabs for a 1 to 2 minute investment, and that's a pretty good return on the investment. All right, and the final one, ammo selection. To me, use HE all the time. I really haven't been able to find a compelling argument or a compelling situation where it makes sense to use the armor-piercing ammo. Again, these are all destroyers. They're lightly armored, and the HE does pretty good damage with the splash almost all the time. If you're using the AP, you can't Citadel because they're all destroyers. They don't have a Citadel. You might knock out guns a little bit more readily with the AP, but you're gonna ricochet if you hit them at an extreme angle. You're gonna overpen and not do as much damage. I don't see the situation. So this is the one where I could certainly use the help from anyone who's watching this video. If you have a situation where you're like, yep, that's where I use AP. If I'm in the Rascal and I'm 4 kilometers away from a Lazarus, using AP, that does extra damage because the fuse is always arm. I don't think that's the case. I've tried this in a bunch of different scenarios and I haven't seen one that works out. Let me know in the comments below. I would be happy to hear that from you. So that's going to wrap up the video. Those are my 10 tips for the Rust in Rumble event. If you're going for it, buckle in, get ready for the grind, and hopefully these tips help you have a little bit more fun or at least be a little bit more efficient. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.